What's up, everybody? It's Phil Moore, host of Nick Arcade, and you're watching Jammin' Music Man. It's the only place to get your groove on.
What's up, guys? It's me, Jammin' Music Man, and welcome to my special new video. And in this video, I'm going to show you some albums that I've been listening to lately. So maybe some of you guys might be interested in these albums and you want to check them out for yourself. So let's get this video started and I'll show you what. Alright, you guys, the first album I've got, it's David Bowie's Hunky Dory album. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite David Bowie albums, and this album came out in 1971, and this album right here really helped push David Bowie a little bit more into the mainstream. He had been putting out albums since the late 60s, and this was the album that he really got some notoriety for. You know, during this time, you know, David Bowie was really, he was really the oddball in popular music at that time. You know, he dressed in women's clothes, while his wife, Angie Bowie, she would dress in men's clothes. You know, people just considered him just an all-around freak. And this was the album right before Ziggy Stardust and the whole glam rock period. This album came out in 1971, so we're talking about, you know, these were the early years of the 70s and the early years of the glam rock movement. You know, I believe T-Rex was out around this time. But some notable songs, You Get Changes, one of my favorite Bowie songs. Oh You Pretty Things, Kooks, a song for Bob Dylan, Queen Bitch, a tribute song to Andy Warhol. But I got this album right here at my local Barnes and Nobles. I want to say it was $7.50, I believe. I don't even think it was close to $10. But guys, if you're interested and want to pick this album up, I highly recommend going to Barnes and Nobles. They have a great selection of various music throughout all the decades. But I hope you guys will be interested and want to check out David Bowie's Hunky Dory album. Alright, you guys, this next album I got, I picked it up at Barnes & Nobles for $5. It's an absolute classic, and it's the self-titled The Velvet Underground album. And if you don't know who the Velvet Underground is, you know, one of the most influential rock bands of all time. They didn't sell a lot of records, and they were never as big as the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or Elvis, but they influenced a lot of people, and they helped influence the punk rock generation that came out in the mid-70s and alternative rock. You know, they influenced bands like Sonic Youth, and I mean, the list could go on and on. But this is their third studio album, and it's a dark, moody, beautiful record. And if you don't know who Lou Reed is, you know, Lou Reed, one of the best songwriters of all time. This was his band before he went solo, and the band was put together by pop artist Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol, one of the, you know, best pop artists of all time. But this was his band that he put together, and you get classic tracks like Candy Says and Pale Blue Eyes. But you get 10 tracks in all, and I love the album cover. It's just Lou Reed and his bandmates on a couch. And this album came out in 1968, so this was in the middle of, you know, hippies and all that. And here comes, you know, the Velvet Underground singing songs about heroin and, you know, just dark stuff. But, you know, I love the Velvet Underground, and I like this album. And for $5, hey, you can't beat that. But that's the Velvet Underground self-titled album for $5 at Barnes & Nobles. Alright, you guys, this next album, great band, great album, and one of my all-time favorite Britpop bands, one of my all-time favorite 90s bands, one of my all-time favorite bands, and that's the 1997 self-titled studio album, Blur. And you know, back in the 90s when Britpop was at its peak, there were no two bigger bands than Blur and Oasis. And if you've watched my videos over the years, you know I'm a big Oasis fan, and I've never really talked about Blur, but I do like Blur. But I gotta say, I do like Oasis a little bit more. But Oasis will always be near and dear to my heart. But Blur, they were a great band too. But this is their 5th studio album. Came out in '97. This was around the same time when Oasis put out their 3rd studio album, Be Here Now. You know, a lot of people consider that album a commercial failure, but, you know, I love a lot of those songs on the album. But we're talking about Blur. You get 14 tracks. A lot of these songs, I remember MTV playing a lot of the videos. Beetle Bum, love that song. Classic video. Song number 2, I love that song. That, I want to say that was the earliest Blur song I remember hearing, was song number 2, and watching that music video. And I know it was in Starship Troopers back in the day. And this album came out in '97, so, you know, we're talking about the height of Britpop. But 14 tracks and all. Other classic songs, you get Country Sad Ballad Man, M.O.R., all in all, great album, great band. And I picked this up at Barnes & Noble's. I want to say it was maybe $7.50, but you know, that's Blur, self-titled album, and go pick it up if you love you some Blur. Alright, you guys, this next album, it's considered a glam rock classic, one of the best albums that came out of the '70s, and that's Lou Reed's Transformer. And I love Lou Reed. I've never really talked about my love for Lou Reed in any of my videos, but I love this album, and one of the best key albums of '70s glam rock. If you want to get into '70s glam rock, I highly recommend picking up Lou Reed's Transformer, the debut album of the New York Dolls, David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust. There's a few other bands I could mention, but we're talking about Lou Reed's Transformer. You know, you get classic tracks like Vicious, one of my personal favorite Lou Reed songs, Hanging Around, and, you know, another absolute classic, one of the best bass lines in any songs, in any music. That's Walk on the Wild Side. All the colored girls go do 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 do. One of the best songs ever. Another great track you get on here, Satellite of Love. Love that song. But you get 11 tracks, and then you get 2 other bonus tracks on here. So you get 13 tracks in all, but this album right here, one of the key albums of glam rock, and one of the key albums that influenced the mid-'70s punk rock bands. And I love this album, one of the best album covers of all time. And I picked this up at Barnes & Noble's, and I want to pay, or it was $7.50. So if you're wanting to pick this album up, hey, head to your local Barnes & Noble's. But that's Lou Reed's Transformer. Alright, you guys, this next album, it's by a band that I was aware of back in the '90s, but I never really got into their music until now. They were never as big as some of the big name acts back in the '90s. But, you know, I've been listening to this album non-stop. Love every song. Love the feel of this album. And that's the debut album of Portishead, Dummy. Love this band. And for some of you out there who want to get into '90s trip hop, you got to have this in your collection. And basically, if you don't know what trip hop is, it was a genre of music back in the '90s that was a mix of alternative rock with hip-hop beats and some really dark synthesized sounds. You know, great mix of stuff. And this album right here, you know, really great. This is an album I can listen to from track 1 all the way to track 11. You get 11 tracks in all. Some of the notable songs off this album are Sour Times, It Could Be Sweet, Wandering Star, Glory Box, Biscuit. But guys, I love this band. Some other notable trip hop genre artists, Massive Attack, I love them, and a rapper named Tricky. Those are really some of the key acts of the whole '90s trip hop genre. But I love this album, and I want to do a review of this album for you guys sometime soon. But that's Portishead, Dummy. Alright, you guys, this next album is the final album I'm going to show you. I've done a review of this band's albums in a couple of videos in the past, and that's Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. And, you know, at this point in time in the Talking Heads career, they were one of the biggest bands on the planet. MTV were playing their videos non-stop. Some notable tracks: Burning Down the House, love the song, love that music video. Another notable track, This Must Be the Place, Girlfriend is Better, great track. But I love Talking Heads, love their music, and if you love Talking Heads, you gotta have Speaking in Tongues in your collection. So alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll go pick out some of these albums. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Leave comments below. Let me know what some of your favorite tracks were off some of these albums, or if you got any albums to recommend, hey, leave a comment below. Subscribe to my channel. But guys, thanks for watching my videos. I'm Jammin' Music Man. I'm the man with the plan. Keep watching my stuff. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Oh yeah.